Hello, this is Chris Durso from Cape Coral, Florida in the United States. And today's lesson we are going to learn how to prepare a project in your DAW using the project checklist. In my home studio, I use Sonar X2 Producer and Echo Layla 8x8 digital audio interface. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. The first thing on your project checklist should be giving your project a proper name and a location. In Sonar, that's done by going to the File tab, clicking on New, and here you'll see a section to give your project a name. You want it to be something recognizable and easy to remember. So for now, we can call this New Project. Now, as far as its location, Cakewalk automatically will use the New Project folder on your C drive, on your hard drive, for its location, and the location of the audio is shown here for subfolder audio. You can change that at any time for any project, but right now those are fine locations, so we're going to keep it like that. Also, you have to specify what type of template you're going to be using. You can use a blank project template or various other templates, 16-track audio, 24-track audio, specific with 3 different console types, A, N, or S, and that applies to different types of primarily British consoles that are popular in various recording studios. The S-type, for example, is a very popular British console with rock and pop engineers. The N-type is what was used in studios like Abbey Road, and the A-type is another very rare British console emulator, but very popular as well. This is not the place to get into that, but just to let you know that you do have some options as far as what template to use. In this case, we can use the blank project template just to get set up. You click OK. What you have now is your standard blank project screen. There are no tracks or plugins designated, but it's fine for our purpose here. So we have the project name and the location set up now. Next, we want to go to some of the audio preferences. All of our preferences will be found under the Edit tab, and you go all the way down to the bottom where it says Preferences. Click on that. The first thing you'll see is your device, and this is where you'll find your DA converter. As you can see, mine is the Echo Layla. You have your input drives and your output drivers, and you can designate them to whatever device you're using. Mine I have designated to my Layla, and if that looks fine, of course, you can click OK. What we will continue to do is to go down the list here. We have our driver settings. This is where we want to have our buffer size set. Sonar shows you not only what your buffer size is in samples, it also gives you a reported latency, so that in this case I have my buffer size set at 128 samples. That will give an effective latency of 4.5 milliseconds on the input side, 4.2 milliseconds on the output side. By clicking on the ASIO panel, we can change that how we would like. For me, for my preferences and my computer hardware, 128 samples is a perfect buffer size, and ideally something that would probably suit most recording situations. Here we can also set the sampling rate. On this sampling rate, we want to normally set the sampling rate at 48,000, and we'll go up and set that there. Everything looks good, so I will click OK. The next thing we will do is again click on Edit Preferences, and now we can look at our bit depth under Audio Data. There are two types of bit depth that you can deal with in Sonar. You have the record bit depth and the render bit depth. The record bit depth allows you to choose the bit depth that recorded audio data will use. We want to make that 24, which is an ideal bit depth for most recordings. And we have a render bit depth. The render bit depth is the bit depth that audio processing, bouncing, applying effects will use. 32 is considered the default value, and it allows virtually lossless processing. The import bit depth allows you to choose the bit depth for imported audio, and we want to keep that at the original bit depth that the imported audio was originally recorded at. So we've now got our bit depth set up, both for recording, rendering, and importing. One other tab here under the File section in Preferences is Folder Locations. We specified our basic project location when we first set up our track. You can see here Sonar allows you to see a specific list of locations of all the different file folder locations for your templates, where your actual audio library is, your WAV files, your video files, and so on. You could change any of them at any time, but you want to keep them consistent so that you're not losing files within the project. Okay, but this allows you to see how Cakewalk stores different types of Sonar files in their own folders. Everything looks fine there, so we click OK. While you're working on a project, you can always see exactly where your audio files are if you look at the Project tab up top here and click on Audio Files. As you build the project, this will give you a list of your audio files, the name of each individual audio file, its path, its bit depth, the actual size, and its status, and that will build as you add more and more audio files. But that's a convenient way to see the list of all audio files within a certain project. Now, Cakewalk projects are generally saved with a .cwp extension. They can also be saved as Cakewalk bundles that would have a .cwb extension, and the Cakewalk bundle would have all the information for a specific project there. So if you needed to transport a project to another platform or send it to someone, you'd want to save it as a Cakewalk bundle. They store all the project data, including the audio and the files, and that's what you use for sharing entire projects between users. Bundles are not editable, but they do contain all of the information. They can also be saved as templates. Again, we saw at the beginning when we opened up our new project, it shows templates, and all projects can be saved as templates. And templates are very useful. They save everything from track configuration and parameters, tempo settings, meter and key settings, all your MIDI data, any drum mapping, of course, all your audio data. So it's a good way to have a quick layout available from one project to the next that you're comfortable in using. when it finally comes to exporting your information, if you look under the File tab and you go to the Export, you will see a number of options on exporting your audio. You want to, if possible, export that as a broadcast wave. That will give you the best possible resolution, and once you have audio in your project, you'd be able to click on that audio link right there, and it would give you your options of what type of audio. And again, you want to try to use the export wave, the broadcast wave setting, because that will give you the best resolution in a file type. So that's it. Our project has been set up. All the pre-production has been done. We've gone through our pre-production set list and set up things like the project name and location, our digital audio interface, which again in my case was the Echo Layla. We've got our sample rate at 48,000 hertz. We've got our bit depth at 24 bits. We know that we are going to use broadcast wave for our file type when we finally export. Our buffer size has been set, and we're ready to go. The next step, of course, would be to add audio tracks in here, or again, use a template that has all of our tracks already laid out, ready to go. But we have used our best setting, which is the 24-bit 48,000 hertz. And again, it's all set and ready to go. There's nothing else to do now except to begin the fun process of recording, which is a topic for another lesson. I hope this made it clear on how to prepare a project in your DAW, especially for Sonar X2 Producer, and what the project checklist entails. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.